Hi everybody, Kyle Austin, Matt Wenzel here, mlive.com. Downtown Lansing today. I'm back from Chicago and we're filming on a Thursday here. Here to talk about Michigan State, Maryland. This Saturday at Spartans Stadium, 4 p.m. kickoff. My three questions for Matt as always. Matt, I think we have to start with what happened last week. Worst loss of the Mark D'Antonio era, 48-3 at Ohio State. Michigan State teams have always responded pretty well after losses, but they've never quite had a loss like that. And the Alabama loss, which everyone talks about, that was a bowl game, so there was no game after that. How do you kind of expect things to go after that?
Well, I expect them to respond. I mean, it helps that you're playing a Maryland team. If you were going into playing Wisconsin or somebody like that, I mean, you could argue that the effort will be there, but we'll see about the result. But I mean, they should be an angry team this week. They have every reason to be. I mean, they were absolutely dominated in every way, shape, and form last Saturday. I mean, after their first six Big Ten games were all decided by 8 points or less, this one was over in the first quarter. I mean,
I almost went home.
Yeah, it was 35-0 in the first half. I mean, that's it. I mean, it was done. So yeah, I expect them to come out and play like an angry team. Last home game of the season, last game for the seniors at Spartans Stadium. You add it all up together against a Maryland team that's lost 5 of 6 and probably better than the record because of a lot of reasons, but yeah, I would expect them to answer.
I would think so too. I think they want to prove that they're not as bad as last week. Maryland has bad timing for this. And speaking of Maryland, people want to talk about their quarterback situation a lot. They've lost 2 to injury. Their third stringer is questionable. They used a walk-on last week against Michigan. But Maryland runs the ball pretty well too, and that's really what Ohio State victimized Michigan State on the most. So how do you expect Michigan State to be able to slow them down on the ground?
I do what they did the first 9 games of the year for the most part. I mean, they had only, I think it was 4 straight games they hadn't allowed 100 yards on the ground to a team, 5 out of 6 or whatever it was in the Big Ten. They hadn't allowed an individual 100-yard rusher all season. And then Ohio State ran for 335, and both Weber and Dobbins topped 100 yards. So again, go back to being dominated. They were in the run game, so. And there's no real reason. Well, I mean, it's not like, they have some guys that are banged up, but I mean, really, it's execution, it's game plan, it's everything. So I would expect them to improve on 335 yards, give it up. Maryland is, I think they're 5th in the Big Ten in rushing. They have 2 guys, Ty Johnson, Lorenzo Harrison. They're both plus 500 yards or so. I think Harrison's Johnson's 700 and Harrison's 400 or 500. So they have a couple backs, but I would expect Michigan State to be better in that aspect of the game this week.
Michigan State said there was more to it than this, the players I talked to at least, but Ohio State physically, there's no equal to them. I mean, they're not going to. Maryland is just a step down as far as going against All-American offensive linemen, centers, stuff like that. And there were some structural issues too. But I just think not facing dudes that are like basically NFL caliber dudes every week. I think that'll help them too as well. Last home game, as you mentioned, small senior class. Really, Chris Fry and Brian Allen being the biggest names in that. But what is going to be kind of this group's legacy? I mean, it seemed like every senior class for a while kind of went up the last one. Obviously, last year's senior class went out on a down note. How do you think this group is kind of going to be remembered?
Well, that'll be determined in years, maybe years down the road, where maybe let's see where the program goes after it. But for this year's class, I mean, the immediate reaction is this is this group that responded. I mean, you look at how the seniors went out last year. For a team that had won Big Ten titles, went to the college football playoff, then you go 3-9. I mean, that's a tough way to go out. And as Brian Allen said this week, you're always remembered. I think it was Brian Allen said, you're always remembered for what you do as seniors, and they're going to be proud that they were part of this rebound season. So, I mean, realistically, if they win the final 2 games, it's 9-3, go to a bowl game, possibly a 10-win season. I don't know how many people would have predicted that at the start of the year. Certainly not myself.
I look at this as kind of 2 different phases of groups. You had the Connor Cook, Shaleke Calhoun senior class. They left, things go down, and this senior class is kind of in that middle after that. But I look at the core of this group, the freshmen and sophomores. They look like the next core that could bring them back to a Big Ten championship level. So I see this group as kind of bridging that gap between the 2. But, make no mistake, for all the freshmen and sophomores that have been key for them this year, Brian Lewerke, some of the receivers, stuff like that, they still wouldn't do what they do without a small group of seniors kind of leading the way. And I think Brian Allen and Chris Fry have been huge in that regard. So it's not a big group. It's not one of these 20-player senior classes that have won 30-something, however many games as starters. But I think their role has been big, and I think if you talk to Michigan State coaches and players, they'll talk about really their role in developing these younger guys and kind of being a leader for them.
Yeah, it's only a dozen guys, and like you mentioned, development. Like look at a guy like Damian Terry. I mean, he knew at the start of the season. I mean, fifth-year guy, it wasn't going to be his year, but he's taken over leadership of the quarterback room and kind of mentored the young guys.
Right. So that'll be it. Spartan Stadium, Saturday, 4 p.m. kickoff, and we'll have plenty of coverage at mlive.com/Spartans. Thanks for watching.